They say history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. And if you've ever wondered what the fall of Rome, the British Empire, or even the Ottoman Empire might have felt like, you don't have to wonder anymore, because you're living through the remix right now. Only this time, the empire isn't ruled by kings or emperors. It's run by Wall Street, the Federal Reserve, and the Wi-Fi signal in your pocket. And the million-dollar question, is America the next empire to fall or the first to hack the collapse? Every great empire in history followed the same four-step pattern. They rose through innovation and strength. They expanded through wealth and war. They drowned in debt and decadence, and then they collapsed. Rome did it with gold. The British did it with colonies. And now the United States is doing it with dollars and data. See, when Nixon ditched the gold standard back in '71, it should have been game over. But the US pulled off one of the slickest financial tricks in history. They tied their money to oil instead. That's the birth of the petrodollar, a move that made the dollar king of the world. Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, they backed it, they traded it, they built America's power on black gold. But now, 50 years later, something new is happening. Technology, the kind that lives in your hand and spies on your habits, has become the new oil. And whoever controls that, controls the future. So the real question isn't, will America fall? It's, what will replace it? If you're the kind of person who'd rather see the storm coming than wait to get hit by it, subscribe, hit that bell, and stay to the end. Because the story we're about to uncover isn't just about empires. It's about you, your money, and the system you're living in without realizing it. Now, let's dig in.
The year is 1971. The world wakes up to the sound of a financial earthquake. President Richard Nixon steps in front of the camera, sweaty and stiff, and announces something that will change everything. The US dollar is no longer backed by gold. In that moment, the US government just unchained its currency from reality. No more limits. No more gold bars in Fort Knox to match the money they print. It's like handing a credit card to someone who never has to pay the bill. Other nations panic. France literally sends ships to claim their gold back. Nixon says, nope. Game over. But instead of collapsing, the US doubles down. They make a deal, not with Europe, not with banks, but with Saudi Arabia. America says, you sell your oil in US dollars and we'll protect your kingdom. Simple, ruthless, genius. And just like that, every barrel of oil on the planet needed US dollars to buy, which meant every country needed dollars. And that gave the US unlimited power to print more of them without consequence. While the rest of the world was working to earn money, America just printed it. That's how the US turned paper into power, and the dollar became the weapon of mass domination. But history loves irony, because the same thing that makes you powerful eventually becomes the thing that kills you.
Fast forward 50 years. The petrodollar is still running the show, but the world has changed faster than anyone expected. We don't fight over barrels anymore. We fight over bandwidth. And the new oil? It isn't under the sand, it's in the cloud. Because today, whoever controls data controls everything. Think about it. Oil powered cars, planes, and factories. But data powers you. Your choices, your votes, your mood. They're all being mined, tracked, and sold like digital crude. Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple. These aren't just companies. They're new age nations, each one richer than most countries on Earth. Apple alone has more cash on hand than the GDP of New Zealand. Microsoft makes more profit per quarter than Exxon did in its prime. And unlike empires of the past, they don't need armies. Their soldiers are servers. Their weapons are algorithms. And their battlefield? Your attention span. Now here's the twist. The same way oil made the US dollar unstoppable, tech is making it untouchable. Because behind every flashy TikTok and every buy now button lies the same machinery: US servers, US software, US patents, and US code. Silicon Valley is the new Saudi Arabia, and the American tech giants are the new OPEC. They control the pipelines of information, and unlike oil, data never runs out. So yeah, maybe the empire isn't collapsing just yet. Maybe it's mutating. But, and there's always a but in empire stories, this mutation comes at a price. See, every empire reaches a point where power stops being productive and starts being parasitic. Rome taxed its people to death. Britain drained its colonies. And America? It's draining its middle class. The dollar's dominance lets Washington spend trillions it doesn't have, print trillions more, and export the inflation to everyone else. The result? You get groceries that cost 40% more than they did 5 years ago, a house that costs 10 times your annual salary, and politicians telling you the economy's strong. Sound familiar? It should, because that's the sound of an empire living on borrowed time. Here's where things get scary. While you're paying $6 for eggs, countries like China, Russia, and even Saudi Arabia are asking a dangerous question. Why do we still need the dollar? China's building its own digital currency, the e-yuan, already used in cross-border deals. BRICS nations are testing trade systems that bypass the dollar completely. And Saudi Arabia, the same country that built America's dollar empire, is now selling oil to China in yuan. If the petrodollar dies, the whole American illusion dies with it. That's not conspiracy talk, that's math. Right now, 59% of global reserves are in US dollars. If that drops to 40%, the US loses the privilege of printing infinite money without pain. Interest rates skyrocket, debt balloons, and the same country that once ruled the world's wallet becomes the next Rome, rich, powerful, and bleeding from within. But wait, remember what we said earlier. Empires rhyme, not repeat. So maybe, just maybe, this time is different. Because unlike Rome or Britain, America has something they never had: technology that scales faster than collapse. AI, automation, biotech, defense tech. These aren't just buzzwords, they're the scaffolding of the next version of empire. The kind that doesn't conquer land, it conquers reality. The US isn't printing gold anymore, it's printing innovation. And while the rest of the world copies, America's already on the next patch update. Still, the question remains: what happens when the innovation stops feeding the people and starts feeding the system? When your job disappears to an algorithm, when your privacy becomes a commodity, when your entire identity depends on the tech built by the same empire you fear might fall. That's when history rhymes again, not with swords or cannons, but with clicks and code. So no, the US won't collapse like Rome. It'll collapse in HD, live-streamed, hashtagged, and monetized. And the scary part? You'll probably still hit like.
Picture this. It's not tanks that win wars anymore. It's code. It's not soldiers on borders, it's satellites watching your house, AI models predicting your vote, and chips smaller than a fingernail deciding the fate of nations. Welcome to the digital empire, America's New World Order, version 2.0. The US may not lead in oil production forever, but it leads in something even more powerful: control of the digital backbone. Over 90% of the world's online traffic still passes through American-based infrastructure. The cloud, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, that's the modern-day Roman aqueduct. You don't see it, but it keeps the empire alive. Every photo, every transaction, every byte, somewhere it runs through a server in Virginia. And the crazy part? That's not an accident. It's strategy. See, when the petrodollar started to wobble, Washington didn't panic. It pivoted. Defense contracts quietly turned into cloud contracts. War budgets became innovation budgets. DARPA, the same agency that gave us the internet, is now investing billions into AI, quantum computing, and synthetic biology. The US figured out what every empire learns too late. You don't need to conquer land when you can control information. China is playing catch-up with Huawei, TikTok, and its digital yuan. Russia tried hacking its way into dominance. But the US? It owns the operating system. Think about it. From Microsoft Windows to Apple's iOS, from Google's Android to NVIDIA's AI chips, almost every road in the digital world still runs through America. It's not the petrodollar anymore. It's the data dollar. And it's just as addictive. But here's where it gets dark. When you build an empire out of data, you're not mining resources. You're mining people. Your clicks, your habits, your secrets. That's the new tax. That's the tribute every citizen of the modern world pays, whether they live in New York or Nairobi. And the US? It's the empire collecting it. The numbers don't lie. In 2024, American tech companies made over $4.3 trillion combined, more than the GDP of Germany. AI startups are being funded faster than any industry in history. Chatbots, drones, predictive policing, tools that once sounded like science fiction are now policy tools, market tools, and psychological weapons. And while the public argues about TikTok bans and crypto scams, the real war is happening behind closed servers, a race to see who controls the narrative before it controls them. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans are feeling the cracks. Inflation still biting, debts climbing past $35 trillion, wages barely keeping up. The empire is rich, but the citizens are tired. The same tech that gave us freedom is quietly building a cage, a world where convenience replaces choice, and control wears the mask of innovation. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly how empires fall, not with fire, but with silence. Not from invasion, but from indifference. Still, every empire has its rebels. And this time, the rebellion won't come from swords or riots. It'll come from knowledge. From creators, coders, investors, and thinkers who see the cracks and start asking questions like, what happens when the next currency isn't money, but attention? What if AI becomes the next central bank? What if power no longer needs permission? Those questions? They're dangerous, but they're necessary. Because history doesn't punish curiosity. It punishes ignorance. So, will the US collapse like Rome? Or will it rewrite the rules before it breaks them? Maybe both. Because America has done something no empire ever managed. It built a system that can reinvent itself in real time. When gold failed, it made oil the king. When oil faded, it crowned data. And when data begins to decay, it'll find something else. Energy, AI, biotech, whatever keeps the lights on and the narrative alive.
If you're still here, you're the kind of person who wants to see behind the curtain. You're not here for fear porn or doomsday talk. You're here for understanding. So if you want to know what replaces the petrodollar, how AI becomes the next global currency, and why the real collapse might already be coded into the system? Hit subscribe, turn the bell on, and join the people who refuse to look away. Because empires don't fall overnight. They fade, while everyone's too distracted to notice. And when the next one rises, you'll want to recognize it before it recognizes you.